Hello, I'm John Cunningham, and welcome to another episode of the RedChip Money Report. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Now, today's show features interviews with executives of two public companies. First up is Tuntise, a private company. Tuntise offers a suite of services and materials to the mining and construction sectors. They are positioning themselves as an integrated mining company and junior mining player. Later in the show, you'll see an interview with their managing director and CEO, Otumba Alatis. Next up is Everything Blockchain, stock symbol EBZT on the OTC. Everything Blockchain provides comprehensive solutions using blockchain technologies and decentralized processing. Revenues for its most recently reported quarter surpassed $1.8 million, up sequentially from under $400,000 in the previous quarter. We'll learn more when we speak with the CEO later in the show. Now, before we get to the first interview, our quote of the week. It comes from the book Small Stocks, Big Money. Get to know management, look for intelligence, a high level of integrity, strong communication skills, and make sure they understand their products and business well. This quote comes from Charles Diker, an investment manager featured in Chapter 8 of Small Stocks, Big Money. This is a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Get a digital copy on Amazon for just $18. Now let's get started with our first interview today with Tuntise.
Hello, we have with us today Otumba Alatis, CEO of Tuntise Mineral Holdings. Otumba, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us. Absolute pleasure.
Otumba, you previously served as the chairman of the Mining and Solid Minerals Group at the Lagos, Nigeria Chamber of Commerce and Industry. How does that experience help you now at Tuntise Mineral Holdings?
Let me give you a bit of a background. The Chamber of Commerce is 135 years old, so it's the oldest chamber in Africa. Obviously, running the Solid Mineral Group was an exciting opportunity for me to be the plug between the government, which is the public sector, and the private sector. So it was my job, or my team's job, to make sure every time there was a policy the federal government comes out with, that we get to dissect it, talk about it, and give it back to the government on if it's good or if it's going to be bad for us. We also championed a lot of trade missions in and out of Nigeria to China, to India, to a couple of places. We leveraged on quite a lot of contacts we made as the chairman, and we're using a lot of that contact for what we're doing now.
Obviously, Lagos, Chamber of Commerce, you've already mentioned China and India. You must have gained a lot of internal, national experience as well as international experience in that position, which is probably serving you well now.
Oh yes, of course. I was the chairman for about 4 years. The usual tenure is 2 years. I did a really good job, and they kept me on. The contacts I made, both with the public sector, with the federal government, and internationally, have been very instrumental to our growth. You find scenarios where some Chinese companies come in and they want to partner with a credible entity, and we're the first ones they talk to as the chairman of the chamber, and we point them in the right direction on who to work with and who not to work with.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Nigeria, hugely important country in Africa, the most populous country in Africa. Huge deposits of gold, iron ore, coltan, wolframite, among many other minerals. How does Tuntise capitalize on the unique geological opportunity of Nigeria?
Well, yeah, so what we did was about 2-3 years ago, we snapped up 8 or 9 exploration licenses. We partnered with a company called Soundcore, and we hired one of the best Australian competent persons report companies that came in, and we've done quite a bit of work mapping out the place. You see, unfortunately, the Nigerian government hasn't really done much with exploration. They really focus on oil and gas. So it's left to the private sector to take up the mantle and literally explore. and that's what we're doing. We've got 2 exploration licenses in gold. We've got 2 in lithium. We've got tin. We've got wolframite, that's for tungsten, and we're constantly acquiring more.
Absolutely. Nigeria justly famous for its vast oil reserves, of course. Let's talk about that partnership between Tuntise and Soundcore Agriculture and Mining for a moment.
Yes. So Soundcore has this fantastic MD. His name is Mr. Tony Wakolo, and we actually met at the Chamber of Commerce, and 2 years ago we engaged with them, and what they do basically is that we are focused more on the explosive side of things, and they are focused more on the mining exploration side of things. And they champion all our causes. They talk to the intermediary body between us and RSC, which is our Australian exploration company, and they do a lot of the work and the interfacing for us.
Otumba, between 2020 and 2021, Tuntise experienced some really spectacular growth, 97% year on year. That's just amazing. Tell us more about it.
So what we did was, we've always been in our comfort zone, which was southwest Nigeria. And 2 years ago, we decided to move to north central, which is Abuja, the capital. And the beautiful thing about Abuja is the geology of Abuja is very, very rocky. So they need way more explosives than the southern Nigeria. And also it's the capital of Nigeria. So all the infrastructure is in the capital, obviously. So we've got tons of railway work, tons of highways, bridges, estates coming up. So wow, we took a huge risk and it really paid off for us.
Utterly compelling, Otumba. Thank you very much for that. Let's look ahead a little bit. What can we expect in 2023? Any upcoming catalysts?
Oh yeah, sure. We recently won a couple of contracts. One of them is a railway job between Nigeria and Niger Republic. We also won a drill and blast contract for the biggest iron ore mining company in Nigeria, Miniomco. We're also opening up another distribution outlet in Ondo State. That's somewhere in the middle belt. And yeah, and we plan on opening Abuja even more. So we're going to push a little bit more to the north. There's a little bit of insecurity there, but we don't mind the challenge.
Otumba, in any company, but especially in an up-and-coming company such as Tuntise Minerals Holdings, management absolutely essential. You've been touching on your background a little bit already. Could you tell us more about yourself and some of the other key players on your team?
I've got a background in mechanical engineering and computer science. I'm currently the secretary of the Civil Explosives Dealers Association of Nigeria. And my job there basically is to interface with the government again, but more from the security side of things. So we have a situation where my office deals with the Office of the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Mines and Steel, and all other kind of entities involved with security that have to do with civil explosives. Other people on my team are, we've got fantastic engineers like Engineer Lanre Akinleye. He's in charge of our drill and blast operations. We've got Ms. Bisola Ajene. She's in charge of our administration and HR. Then we've got our chairman, who's also a retired magistrate in law. So she handles a lot of our legal stuff. That's Alaja Oluyemisi Alatishe, who's also my mom. And like we said, it's a family business that has just grown. It's just really grown over the years.
Otumba, we've covered a lot of ground here. Now, as we wrap up, tie it up into an essential value proposition for us. Why should an investor take an interest in Tuntise Mineral Holdings right now?
We've got a lot of projects coming up. We've got an iron ore company that has just mandated us to do the drill and blast for them. We've got another project up in the north, like I earlier mentioned. It's a railway job between Nigeria and Niger Republic. At the moment, there's something called the AFTA, which is the African Free Trade Continental Agreement. We're also plugged in that as well, where we can expand and export our explosives to the other parts of Africa, which is a huge market. We are literally the best plug for your mining and exploration job. We've got a great management team. We've got one of the best bunch of engineers that do drill and blast, and we're the only ones doing it in Nigeria at the moment. And we're opening up other outlets across the country, and we're very bullish about it. And we're hoping this year we're going to exceed our expectations by over 200%. So we are your best plug for mining and exploration in Nigeria.
Now, to get more information on Tuntise, visit tuntisegroup.com. Or you can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. Now let's move on to our next interview today with Everything Blockchain.
Hello, today we have Tony Jennings, CEO of Everything Blockchain, with us here in the studio. Tony, welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Everything Blockchain, revolutionizing database technology using proprietary blockchain technologies. Let's start with a brief overview of Everything Blockchain and its product portfolio.
What we're doing at Everything Blockchain is blending database security with blockchain with zero trust data security to really develop disruptive new ways to store data, manage data, and protect data. We do that through 3 lines of business today. We do that through EBAdvise, EBBuild, EBControl, and I'll just talk to you for a second about each one of those. EBAdvise, as the name implies, is our advisory service. It's where customers will come to us potentially with a use case or a business problem that they feel like blockchain can solve. It will sort of be their blockchain Sherpa to help them get to a solution, help them understand where the blockchain, and particularly our blockchain, will help them solve their problem. And we're really not looking to build project-based revenue out of this. What we're really looking to do, and we're very picky with our EBAdvise projects, what we're really looking to do is help customers solve a problem that ultimately lead to recurring revenue for us on the back end. So that's what we want to be as a company, is really be all about recurring revenues and things of this nature. We are a technology company after all. So that's EBAdvise. EBBuild is our proprietary patent-pending blockchain platform. Again, it's a very different type of a blockchain where it's private, highly secure, very performant, very resilient. So very different than your typical blockchains that you see out there. Again, focused on problems that really exist in very large businesses that have very large data sets and have data that really needs to be kept secure in a self-healing sort of a blockchain at very large scale. The business model there, quite frankly, is as you would expect from a software company: subscription fees, transaction fees, revenue share, and of course a big go-to-market element for us will be technology licensing to other technology companies that may need this to be an element of their solutions as well. Finally, we have EBControl. That is our patented now zero trust data protection solution. It really exists to help people share data outside of their secure network and know that I can absolutely control that data no matter where it goes forever. If I send you a file, for instance, it's going to verify that you are Craig. It's going to know that you are in the right location because I might have decided to geofence your data. It's going to decide if you're in an authorized timeline. I might have said, hey, you've got a week or 2 weeks or a month to look at this. Then you won't be able to view it anymore. Or I might have decided yesterday that I want to revoke your access in real time. And then finally, of course, we can invoke data rights management, meaning that I can ask you, Craig, I can enforce data rights management on you in such a way that you can read it only, but you can't forward it, copy it, print it, or save it. So that's really what EBControl is all about. And again, we've taken those elements, those business units in a whole to really be able to come up with this brand new way to store data, protect data, and manage data as well.
Tony, you've really captured my attention, and I think our audience's attention, with that description of what Everything Blockchain does. Can we concretize it a little bit? Give us an example, maybe a case study of one of your customers and how you serve them.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. As you can imagine, the use cases for this are endless. Any application today that is using a traditional database to store data is a candidate for us to go in and displace, particularly when the data stored in that database needs to be secure, it needs to be tamper-proof, it needs to be immutable. Let me give you a specific use case, though, I think that you'll find interesting in the net zero space. So imagine having an energy company that obviously they're all concerned about getting to net zero over the next decade or so. Imagine continuing to develop oil, develop energy, and you have production equipment in the field where you have sensors that are basically looking for and measuring greenhouse gases that are coming off that production equipment, right? So if you need to prove that you're getting to net zero, if you've got regulatory bodies that you've got to report to, then you need a couple things to happen. One is you really like that data to be stored in a way that can be proven to be tamper-proof. It's immutable. It can't be changed. So you can prove that it actually did come from where you say it's going to come from, and it hasn't been tampered with, right? So we'll use the case again of these production wells where you have IoT devices that are operating in real time and throwing a heck of a lot of data off of. A traditional blockchain, for instance, you want to store it in that blockchain because, again, the data, you know the data that goes in there, you can prove that it's not been tampered with. But the problem with using blockchain traditionally is that it's not performant. It moves very slow. You're adding blocks in minutes instead of adding blocks in milliseconds like we do. So we're operating really in near real time. And so imagine being able to take data off of an IoT device across this production equipment, shove it into a database, in this case, a blockchain database, and then when it comes time to report kind of where you're really at, when it comes time to forecast the sort of emissions you'll have off of a new production rigs and things of this nature, you have a reliable way to basically go to the regulatory bodies to prove to your shareholders, to show others that the data is real and hasn't been tampered with, and is something that can be relied on.
It's truly zero trust, and show me something that we can rely on, and you guys are attacking that problem.
That's what it's all about. When we talk about a new way to store data, manage data, and protect data, that's exactly what we're talking about. Being able to do it at scale with this sort of security, immutability, and resiliency.
I'm just wondering, how big is the market opportunity you're addressing?
That's an interesting question, and you can slice and dice that several ways. When I put my investor hat, I'm thinking about people, I'm thinking about markets, I'm thinking about products. So on the market side, I want to know there's a big addressable market. So I can say, yeah, we're going after the blockchain market, and yeah, it's maybe 4 or 5 billion in size today based on who you talk to and what you read. But I would say that if we really identify ourselves more with the next generation database company. So if I'm going to go and disrupt the database space, now I'm talking about $100 to $150 billion market. So what, 20x the size of the blockchain market? So any way you slice it and dice it, we also do the data protection. That's another 25 billion. So any way you slice it and dice it, what I want investors and people interested in the company to understand is this is a huge addressable market for us.
Now, it's a huge addressable market. It's also somewhat new, and you're trying new things, I'm sure, here. You've got some proof of concept programs underway, both with your current customers and with potential customers.
Yes.
Tell us about some of that.
Yeah, sure. So any company that's bringing new, exciting technology to the market, obviously one of the first things you want to do is you've got to establish credibility in the market, which typically means I've got to get reference customers. I call them lighthouse customers. You've got to get those customers so that they can kind of sing your praises. When you have those successes, they're going to tell their friends. They're going to work with my marketing department, things like that. We're fortunate in this case. Oftentimes, when you bring in new technology to market, you typically do lighthouse sorts of engagements with smaller companies, maybe people that are willing to, engage, be early adopters, for instance. We're really fortunate in this particular case with everything blockchain, though, to really be doing proofs of concept and having projects early on with Fortune 100 companies, airlines, energy companies, government. So in that aspect, I feel really excited and really fortunate that we're able to do POCs that, in my experience, are kind of rather out of the ordinary for a company at this stage.
If I'm the CEO of a major company, I want my database to be safe. I don't want it being broken into. You've got these proofs of concept. You've got these current potential customers. I want to turn now to management of any company and of any small cap company. Management is huge, but I would say especially in your case, with your technology, with the newness of what you're trying to do, management matters very much. Tell us about some of the key players on your team.
Happy to do that. Obviously, we're a technology company, and so one of the first things you want to look at is, well, who are your technology leaders? Well, we're very fortunate that we have two of the best technologists on the planet. You have Brandon Hart, who is heading up our Zero Trust data protection solution, crypto expert, Zero Trust expert. Won't find a better technologist in that space on the planet. Cedric Harris is our blockchain guy. When I say our blockchain guy, though, he's a unique individual in that not only do you have to know blockchain to do what we do, you've got to be a database architect. You've got to be a network architect. There's just a number of things. You've got to probably know, 10 or 11 different programming languages. So we just are fortunate we have two of the best on the planet that are heading up our technology and solutions development. Of course, business matters as well. We've got a CFO that has a ton of public company experience, which obviously matters to us, particularly as we contemplate uplisting to the NASDAQ over the next several quarters. And I'll just say across the team in general, we've got guys that this is not their first rodeo. They've been through many, many successful exits, decades of experience both in industry and business across the team.
I see you're a very polite individual, Tony, and that you have omitted yourself. Tell us a little bit about Tony Jennings.
What is there to say? Well, I've been kind of blessed in my career. Obviously, my background is I'm an ex-Air Force captain. That's how I got my start initially in cybersecurity. Actually spent a little time in Desert Storm. Back when that was going on, was actually deployed to do a cyber operation in theater at that time. Then left the military with some of my military friends. We started my very first company back in 1995, a company called Wheel Group Corporation. We essentially were the first entry into what's now called the intrusion detection space. So we're the first ones there. Just spent about 3 years building that company, sold it to Cisco Systems for a very nice number, and which was great. I mean, it's kind of spoils you when you have a home run like that right out of the gates. Then I went off and raced cars for a little while. Was a professional race car driver and did pretty well at that as well. Won a lot of races, but eventually decided it was time to go back and be a tax-paying citizen again. And so since then, through my venture capital network, through my business network, et cetera, have been fortunate to be able to be a CEO of another 6 companies in addition to the very first one I did. So I've been very fortunate to be able to have that sort of experience working with great teams. I'm now landed everything blockchain and probably more excited about the opportunity here than any other company I've been involved with.
For our audience, why should an investor take an interest in everything blockchain right now?
I think I can answer that pretty simply in that, again, when I put my investor hat on, and just like many in the audience, I invest as well. When I'm looking at a tech company in particular, I'm looking at really 3 things. I'm looking at the team. Can the team pull it off? Have they been there before? Have they encountered the obstacles that inevitably pop up when you do a company like this? Then I'm looking at the market. Is there really a market for the product, or is there a problem that's big enough that you're solving that someone will scratch a check for it? That's the way I like to think about it. So, is there a real problem in the market? Is it a sizable market? And then finally, of course, you've got to have technology that will solve the problem, that is differentiated with intellectual property that you can protect and that is defensible. And so those are the things I look at as an investor, and I think we have all those ingredients here at Everything Blockchain. Obviously, I feel that way, or I wouldn't be here myself.
Now, to get more information on everything blockchain, visit EBZTinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free. You can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You can also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. We also have a free weekly newsletter you can subscribe to at redchip.com, featuring emerging growth companies like Everything Blockchain. Again, visit redchip.com and subscribe today. In addition to our newsletter, you can also order your copy of Small Stocks, Big Money. This is a book written by RedChip's CEO, featuring interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. Order your copy at Amazon.com for just $18. Now let's recap the companies you met today. First, you met Tuntise, a private company. Leveraging its extensive experience as a mining service provider, Tuntise has commenced exploratory work on 2 gold mines in Nigeria, and they've acquired multiple exploration licenses for other solid minerals. These minerals include tantalum, tin, feldspar, columbite, and lithium. Tuntise is continuing to execute on its vision of becoming a major player in the global mining sector. Again, visit tuntisegroup.com to learn more. Then you met Everything Blockchain, stock symbol EBZT on the OTC. Everything Blockchain is diligently executing its business strategy to expedite the rollout of its core operating brands and services. They are expected to see material growth from these initiatives in the quarters ahead while achieving positive cash flow for the year. Visit ebztinfo.com to learn more. Again, if you have any questions about any of the public companies featured on today's show, please call us at 1-800-REDCHIP or email us at info@redchip.com. In closing, remember, while small caps can provide significant gains, you must be prepared for the downside. Small cap stocks are among the most volatile asset class. Some of the companies featured on this show are RedChip client companies, and we may own stock in these companies. So please always read our disclosures at redchip.com. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next week with some new exciting emerging growth companies.